Hey everyone, how is it going? Welcome to another live windsurf coaching. If you're new here, I do this every week, every Sunday at this time. You can ask any question you want, but we like to keep them windsurfing related. Most of the questions I get are wave sailing related, but I'm happy to answer anything about the windsurfing industry, free ride windsurfing, competition windsurfing. I've been on the board of the management board of the PWA for years. I'm not anymore. I stepped down the end of last year. But we can talk about anything. The conversation is guided by what goes on in the Facebook group, which you can see up on the top of the screen there if you're not in it. I hope you guys had a good week. Who sailed this week? I sailed. I had a few days. I had a good jumping day, which felt nice. I haven't had a good jumping day in a long time, especially on this tack, on starboard tack. Most of the jumping I do is in Europe, which is on port tack. So that felt good. All right, we got a lot of people in the chat. Let's say hello. Hello, very smelly garlic. Hello, Dom Dom. Hans. So Hans had a good session last week, Friday. Nice. Axel, how's it going? Are you still in Munich? Matt, hello, Matt. Rob, welcome. Jorg, the Fed. Dom Dom, how's it going? Max. Axel said he sailed on the lake yesterday. Gusty, but he was desperate. Hello, Facebook. Yeah, welcome, guys, to the live stream. So this is some footage from one of the sessions I had since I last saw you. It's at Hokipa, and this is one of the most difficult days I've ever windsurfed at Hokipa. Not difficult because like it was hard to get around, just really difficult to ride well. It was just really difficult to ride technically well. The wind was kind of onshore, the waves were kind of east, which is not a great direction for Hokipa. And there were some really powerful sections, but other sections that were really crumbly and mushy. And it was really hard to get speed, really hard to connect with the wave, really hard to do good turns. It was really difficult. It was one of the most difficult sessions I've ever had. I was on kind of a different board that I thought was, yeah, that I haven't ridden much, but I thought it'd be fun to try. And actually, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was really fun. I got pounded as well. There were a few times on this day where I got really pounded. There's one wipeout which I think has already gone by. I can go back to that. I thought I might break my leg or hurt my knee, my bad knee. And some of these waves are just so choppy. You can see, I think on this wave, I just end up not doing anything because there's so much chop in the wave. Good evening, Suna, Dennis. Welcome, guys. Yeah, just so much chop. It was really difficult to find smooth sections on the wave, to find good waves. Like I said, it's one of the most difficult sessions I've ever had at Hokipa, maybe the most difficult in terms of technical riding. So it wasn't that hard getting out and around. I've had other sessions that are a lot more difficult in that respect, but it was really difficult to do something good on the waves. Yeah, so what about you guys? So Dennis says he had 2 sessions, full power on the 4.2 and 4.7, some improvement on the forwards thanks to the last coaching. Oh, nice to hear. Suna, welcome, welcome, welcome. Rich, welcome. Yeah, so we're going to get into the Facebook group in a second. We've actually got quite a bit to talk about in the Facebook group. We had a good week of discussion. Do you guys have any questions about this footage before we move on? I don't know if there's anything interesting that you guys have seen so far that's worth talking about from a coaching perspective. Like I said, it was really difficult. The waves were broken up. Some of them were really choppy, not nice long Hokipa waves like they normally are. and the wind was kind of onshore. It was really difficult. Oh, nice. Suna's had some good sessions, he says. That's good to hear. All right, I think is that the last wave? I think there's one more wave. So John is asking where I did my jump training. I did it at Sprex Beach, which is between Hokipa and Kanaha. And it was fun. It was interesting. Like I said, I really haven't done a dedicated jumping session on starboard tack in a while. And I just was building up, starting with back loops, 1 foot back loops, one hand, 1 foot back loops, forwards, stalled forwards, pushed loops, everything. And yeah, it felt really good. Time to keep pushing. All right, let me find this wipeout just because you guys like to see me wipe out. It's somewhere over here. And then the tide was really low. So these rocks are normally not sticking out. So normally you don't go on these rocks, but because the tide was so low, I thought I might there. Yeah, let me find the wipeout. Is it there? This is a good technique for to learn if you're sailing in wave spots, where you're holding on with one hand to the sail and the other hand to the back foot strap of the board, and then you can get some wind to the sail. You're swimming with your feet to help position in difficult situations. So here I've got current and everything that's trying to take me onto these rocks. I'm trying to just get a little bit farther out so the current takes me out. I want to find this wipeout. Where is that wipeout? All right. Hello, Rasmus. Moin. Baby Beach can be good for jumping. It's a little bit tricky to get in and out of the water at Baby Beach. Often you risk cutting your feet or dinging the board. So Baby Beach can be really fun, but it's more, I would say, more of a photo shoot spot than anything. Hello, Marcin. Welcome to the stream, to the live stream. You had 3.7 full power in the Polish Hood River. Whoa, I didn't know there was a Polish Hood River. I got to see that. Hey, Tomas. All right, Max is asking, what's the feeling on the beach with the Unified Wave Tour? Feeling good. People like it. Yeah, feeling good. We'll see how it goes. All right, this is the hard wipeout. So I thought I was going to break my leg or something here. So I came off this turn. I'm feeling good. And like I said, these were really weird conditions for Hokipa. So okay, little section hit there. And then the wave is not really offering much here. It's kind of just shouldery, cut back, carve. And then what I wanted to do was like a little floater over this section to get to the next section. But the wave, instead of floating on top of it, the wave got on top of my board and pushed it down, which then pushed me down. And then you can see, like, look at my front leg. So then I'm landing on my front leg. I've got so much force on that front leg from my body and the wave. And I'm still kind of in that position, even here. And I was like that for a while. It was painful. Marco, yeah, the new Ezzy wave sails do have a bigger window. They do. That is something they have. This day was so weird. It was really one of the strangest Hokipa days I've ever had. Tomas, what do you find interesting about the footage? Let's just watch one more wave and then let's move on to the Facebook group. All right. Yeah, load up the Facebook group. How does the footage look? I haven't done much footage uploading to this platform. How does it look? Does it look pixely? Does it look good? Let me know, because I can do more of that in the future. I just want to make sure it doesn't look bad to you guys. It depends, I guess, on my internet connection. All right, first up, we have a back loop from, ooh, there's music, from you in Japan. It's awesome. I've seen you work on his back loops over the years. He's posted in the group before. I've seen him on Maui. I've seen him in Japan. And it's awesome to see this progress. Love it. There's a few key things he's doing here that are like the textbook 1, 2, 3. So carving upwind, going upwind on the takeoff. You can see how much more upwind he's going on the takeoff than his normal path out. Sail goes back. He's looking up. He goes straight up, and then looks over the shoulder, comes straight down, sheeting in, pushing the sail forward. He could exaggerate that more. He could tuck his legs up more, but he is still hitting all of those key points and comes around really easily. And his question is why it's a lot easier to backloop on the Ezzy Wave, the new Ezzy Wave, rather than the Taka, which these are two of our sail lines at Ezzy. The Taka is a 3 3/4 batten wave sail, and the Ezzy Wave is a 4 batten wave sail. And the Taka, because it's a 3 batten wave sail, is going to move around more, which makes the sail feel freer sometimes on the wave, but it also means that you'll have more of a change in the power kind of off and on. And that can be difficult sometimes for the landing, whereas having the 4 battens, the profile isn't changing as much. So there's different sails for different kinds of windsurfers who want different things. And it sounds like that the Ezzy Wave is what works for you. And that's true for most people. So like for 95% of the people, the Ezzy Wave is going to be the right choice. So unless you really know that you like the Taka, go with the Ezzy Wave. All right. Hey, Greg. Fighting the tidal current. That does sound difficult. Rasmus wants higher angle on the footage. Got to talk to the filmer about that. All right. So Marco posts this picture of the bottom turn, and he doesn't like his body position. He's asking about sail windows and looking at the wave. Okay, there are a lot of points that this raises, and we're going to try to get through them because there's actually a lot going on here in this picture. I'm going to answer Marson's question really quick first. So he says, what do I think about the new PWA Tour and which places am I going to compete? It's awesome. I wish it happened 10 years ago when I was more invested and focused on competing. But let's see. I'm going to go to Japan. I already signed up for Japan. I got to book my tickets still. And then we'll go from there. I'd like to do Japan. I'd like to do Maui. Probably won't do Pozo. We'll see how it goes. My competitiveness at Pozo has been declining over the last years, kind of rapidly. I used to be somewhat competitive. I was never going to win, but I could win heats. I could get pretty high wave scores, like 8s and 9s on the waves, and then some decent jump scores. But the jumping has progressed more than my jumping has progressed. And in some ways, my jumping has maybe even regressed in those really windy conditions. So I'm just not as competitive there as I used to be. I mean, I've taken out some really big names and had some really big heat scores in Pozo in the past, but I'm just not sure that I'm not sure if I could still do that. Maybe if the waves were big, if there was a big swell. Anyway, let's get back to this question because this is a good question. Oops. This is a good question from Marco. So before we even talk about sail visibility, let's talk about bottom turn body position and where you want to look. So there are a few things going on in this picture, Marco, that you want to address in terms of technique. And don't feel bad, don't worry, because these are some of the most common mistakes that I see in bottom turns Doesn't matter if we're talking about Hawaii, Europe, wherever. These are the most common mistakes that I see on the bottom turns. One, pushing the hips forward. You don't want to push your hips forward. You want to actually stick your hips back. You're sticking your butt back so you can get your chest down. It might be worth writing this down. These are huge, huge, huge points. Stick your butt back so you can get your chest down. Push the sail away from you. You never want to have the sail close to you in the bottom turn. You're pushing the sail away from you. So you're never holding it into your body. You're pushing the sail away from you. It doesn't matter if it's onshore, offshore, side shore. You don't want to be pulling the sail into you. In fact, you don't even need to be sheeting in very much. So we talk about sheeting in the bottom turn, and that is important, but it's important in the initiation of the bottom turn, and it's important in those really radical hard carving bottom turns. But more important than sheeting in is getting the sail in the position that will allow you to come back up the wave. And in order to do that, you need to be sheeted out. Because when the sail is sheeted in this position, it's pushing you down this way, down the line. But actually, you want to do a nice U shape in your bottom turn. And in order to do that, you have to sheet out. So the third big point is you have to sheet out. So sheeting in is for the initiation, but then sheeting out is hugely important in the bottom turn. So those 3 points, and there's another one coming, a fourth point. The 3 points are stick your butt out and your chest down. Push the sail away from you. You never want to hug the sail. You don't want the sail close. Just get your arms straight. Get the sail away from you. Super, super important. Third is sheet out. You want to be sheeting out in the bottom turn. That's the only way to come vertical up the wave and come into the cutback. You do have to sheet in to initiate the bottom turn, but the sheet out is actually more, in a way, it's more important because you can never come back up the wave if you're sheeted in like this to go into your cutback. Whereas you can somehow get some speed without sheeting in at the beginning. Sheeting in does help give you that speed, give you that acceleration, which is also important. But it is technically possible to do it without that sheet in. It's not possible to go up the wave vertically in this position. So the sheet out is actually more important. Then the fourth point is where you're looking with your head. And so this comes directly to the question that Mark was asking, because he's talking about looking through the sail and he's often looking around the mast. When you're setting up for the turn and in the beginning of the bottom turn, you want to look around the mast. But once you're at this point in the bottom turn, if it's down the line on shore, you want to be looking kind of over your sail, which is one reason why getting more of a laydown is good, because you can look over the sail. If it's side shore or onshore, and you can even do this in offshore as well, and it's something I would recommend as a good exercise, so you don't have to go to the laydown, is you're looking around the clew of the sail. Now, that doesn't make any sense for this photo because of the position that you're in, but if you're sheeted out, your arms are pushed forward away from you, there's going to be a space where then you're able to look around the clew, and where you're going to look is somewhere here. And that is the line that you want to travel. You are looking down the line now, which means that you're going to travel where you're looking, which is this kind of long line. But you want to do more of a U. You want your bottom turn to be a U, not a long line, not like a parentheses. So in order to do that, you have to look up the wave rather than down the wave. And so then the place that you want to look is on the other side of the clew. Let's see, I'm going to load up my video again. And let's see if there's a moment here. This is kind of a different kind of condition. This is not a perfect comparison at all. But I just want to see if there's an example here, something that we can learn from. So here, like I said in the beginning, I'm looking around. Yeah, I mean, this is not great, but this actually does show what I want to show. So setting up the bottom turn, I'm looking around the mast. There, I'm looking through the window. There, I'm looking through the window. And then at the beginning of the bottom turn, I'm looking over the mast. And you can see, I mean, this is not an amazing bottom turn, but arms straight, sail pushed away. And it doesn't have to be pushed away, laid down forward. The sail can be upright also. Butt is back. Chest is down. And then, look, looking around the clue and sheeting out, which is the only way to then come up the wave. So let's just watch that one more time. And this is not amazing. Like, what I'm doing here is not super high level. Okay, so sheet it out, arms straight, looking around the clue, trying to do a U-shaped bottom turn. And the only way to come up the wave vertically is to sheet out. If you're sheeted in, you cannot get in this position. It's just impossible. So this is a good kind of key image to think about, where sail is sheeted out so aggressively. Let's see, maybe there's one more. This is a little bit different kind of turn on that one. Here I'm looking through the sail, but this is a different kind of setting. All right, let's get back to this. So does that make sense? Those are very important points that we just went through. Do they make sense? All right, I'm going to move on. Or should I write it out? Should I write? These are such important points. Just went over this on the live stream. 4 key points. All right, do you guys remember what the 4 key points are? Why don't you guys say them in the chat and then I write them? Say them in the chat. These are so important. So what are the 4 key points for bottom turn position and where to look? Let's get them rolling in the chat, and then I'll type them in on this post. So I'll wait for you guys, and I'll move on to the next post and start talking about it. But then you guys put this in the chat, what I just said, the 4 points for the bottom turn, and add your thoughts about it. Like, don't just regurgitate what I said. I would love to hear what you think, how you interpret it. And then we're going to move on to Marine's question. All right, we've got some answers. Max is saying hips back. Domino says butt out, chest down. Yeah, push the sail. Sheet in, butt out, arms straight, sheet out. Yeah, extend arms, sheet out, and then look around the clue. So yeah, let's get those in there. So butt back, chest down. What did we say? We said sail away from you. Don't hug the sail of your body. 3 was, what do you guys say? Let's see. All right, open the sail. Yeah, you got to sheet out. Look, and then look. Yeah, very smelly garlic. Look through the clue. Marco says backhand move back. We actually didn't talk about the backhand moving back. That is a good point, though. Having a wide grip always helps. But these things are actually more important than having a wide grip. Having a wide grip helps, but if you're not doing these things, it won't help. Looking behind the clue helps grab wide as well. That's an interesting point from Hans. That's interesting. Can you explain that a little bit more, Hans? What do you find helps you with looking around the clue with grabbing wider? Like which way is that? How does that work? Yeah, Soon is saying point to your cut back position with the backhand. Yeah, which can be a really good heuristic. Sheet out. Sheeting out is important for going back up the wave. 4, look around the clue of the sail from the midpoint All right. Jeff says, push the sail forward, sliding boom through the backhand. Yeah, interesting. You guys are interpreting a lot in these because I didn't say that, but that is a good thing to do. So Hans is saying if you try to look behind the clue, he grabs wider. Interesting. So that's great if you can do the two together. Cool. All right, you guys, awesome. I'm going to move on now to Marine's post. So she is in Cabo Verde, and she's going to be there for 2 more weeks. Awesome. And she wants to stay closer to the peak and how to build speed. And she's interested. She's holding back, she feels like, and staying on the shoulder because she's afraid of breaking stuff on the rocks. But she knows that pros like Levi or Victor seem to go totally upwind on the way down and make a super sharp bottom turn. She's not sure she can do that, but she wants to try. How do you do that in the light side off winds? And she put a picture from Victor and a picture from her. So the first thing that I would say is that you really want to make sure that you're getting a lot of speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed, 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 speed. And so doing the green line bottom turn might not be the direction you want to go right now, Marine. It depends on how much speed you have. It'd be really helpful to see video. If you can get someone to video you, or just photo sequences as well, but video is better because we can really see the speed, but photo sequences help as well. Then I can give better advice because I'll have a really good picture of what's going on. What I would recommend is not even bottom turning. So doing 5 waves, 4 waves. I don't know how crowded it is. I don't know how hard it is to catch those waves. Maybe it's more than 5 waves if there's no one out. And don't even turn. Just focus on building speed. And if the wave backs off, you can back off as well. So you're trying to match the speed of the wave. And you can wait, and go kind of late. I mean, don't risk it too late. You want to build up to where you're comfortable. And then stay on the top half of the wave. Don't even do a bottom turn. And just generate speed. And just try to get as much speed as you can from the wave, just going down the line, flying down the line. Do that exercise, 5 waves, 6 waves, 7 waves, and you can really flow with it. It's a very fun thing to do to just try and get as much speed as you can. And then if the wave backs off, you can kind of back off, and then once it starts picking up again, race it again. But speed is super important, and doing a good bottom turn, and especially riding a moderately fast wave like Ponte Preta, you need speed. You need speed. So that would be my first thing to say. So doing these vertical, like a U-shaped bottom turns are great, but it's something I think you need to work up to. And the first thing is making sure you have enough speed. And you can, with the speed, you can do some like little turns. And I'm just feeling the toes, heels, toes, heels. That would be my first thing to work on. So like Thomas is saying, like fade the sail, sheet out. You don't want to do that unless you have a lot of speed. You need to work on the speed first, and then everything comes from the speed. All right. Marine, are you in the chat? Because if you're here, I'd love to hear from you what you feel. Also, you guys all listening, have you windsurfed a wave like Ponte Preta? Not everyone does. I mean, there are people who have windsurfed their whole lives and never windsurfed a wave like this. If you have, was it scary? What was your technique for staying with the wave? If you haven't, do you want to? And if so, why? And if not, why not? So I want to hear from you guys. And then while you guys are typing in the chat, I'm going to move on to the next question. Mike is asking about a good windsurfing camp school in April in the eastern Northeastern America. So I'm not really sure. Some people are recommending ABK. Sounds good. Yeah, it sounds like ABK is kind of the only recommendation. I think Hatteras. So William is saying Hatteras has some good stuff going on. That's where I would look. These look like good recommendations. All right, I asked this question in the group. What's the windsurfing question that you've never asked anyone? And there are some fun responses. We got 99 comments, 101 comments. All right, that's awesome. Let's go through them all. All right, so John is saying that he's watched videos of Ponta Preta. John, would you ever go in waves like that? If so, why? If not, why not? All right, let's get into these questions too. So Matthew is asking, why hasn't someone made an asymmetric fin that planes going out but is loose coming in? Hans says that he's made some. So Hans makes his own fins, and he's made some. How does that work? I ride asymmetric on my thrusters often, but the setup then actually makes it generally worse for going out, ironically, because I really want good hold in my cutback on the wave riding side and a little bit looser on the bottom turn. Joseph says, why do people refer to wave sailing in terms of the direction the tack is when the sailor is going out instead of when you're wave riding towards shore? Great question. I don't know. It's confusing. It's confusing. Hans is saying he's not sure how similar Glass Beach is to Ponta Preta, but he stayed where he felt comfortable and went deeper wave by wave. And he liked the way it was predictable. That's cool. And John was in Ponta Preta in person. That's nice. All right. Jenny's asking the secret spot that I went in Portugal. No one has guessed it yet. There's a few different guesses, but nope. The locals really didn't want me to share where the spot was, and I respect that. It was a hardcore spot, though. I don't think many people are going to go there. Giles asked, what do I wear under my wetsuit? Nothing. I have a pair of those ball slappers that Ion makes to protect my balls. And sometimes I'll wear that if I'm going to do a lot of jumping, but generally I just don't wear anything. Jerome says about making this sport easier to learn. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not an easy sport to learn, but I think it's easier to learn now than it was 20 years ago. I see people getting into it, but it's hard. Windsurfing is hard, and you guys are awesome for sticking with it. This is one big theme of the coaching that I don't say enough, is that in order to get where you are, you had to struggle through water starts, through jibes, through so many steps that most people don't get through. Because a lot of people try windsurfing. I travel a lot, or I used to travel a lot. And so I'd meet people on planes, in airports, all around. And in the small talk that ensues, I say, oh, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm a professional windsurfer. 90% of the people, 9 out of 10 of those people say, oh, I tried that, and it was so hard. And so they quit. They tried it on holiday somewhere. They went to the Canary Islands. They went to Greece. They went to wherever. And they tried windsurfing for a week, and it was too hard. And so they didn't continue it. And you guys have all been with it through that hardness, through the water starts, through the jibes, through everything else. So what am I trying to say? Yeah, windsurfing is hard to learn. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's cool that the people who windsurf have all gone through that process and stuck with it, persevered. There's something kind of cool about that. Axel says that he's scared of Ponta Preta. I think you'd like it though, because you like kind of side off starboard tack. It would be scary, definitely, Axel, but in a good way, I think. All right, Dom says that he went to Ponta Preta 10 years ago. It was scary to wait for the sets. Greg says memorable but intimidating. Nice. But not so often. Dom says Ponta Preta was tough. Bay is asking, Bay says there's a great example at 3 minutes about the High Line. Which video? Which video, Bay? All right, let's move back to the Facebook group. Ala asked me about my university. Yeah, when I graduated from Princeton and I was windsurfing also at the same time, I felt like if I had to do one more day, everything would have collapsed. It was like I was juggling, and if I had to do one more day of doing both, it all would have fallen apart. John asked, how much does a reseller pay for a container full of Cobra boards? I've heard some pretty crazy things here in Tenerife. I think the implication here, and then in the discussion, is that boards are expensive and that shops don't pay very much or something. Don't worry, no one is making much money on windsurfing equipment. Margins are tiny for everyone. The brands don't make much money. The shops don't make much money. It's not a great business to be in. The margins are not there. I mean, to buy a, like, the cost, the landed cost in Europe, so including production costs plus shipping plus import taxes, all of that stuff of a new board from Cobra is less than the secondhand value for that board. I'll just say that. So the cost to bring it in, the cost to make it, including some profit for the brand, so the cost from the brand is less than the secondhand price of boards. Mark is asking about cheese roll variations. One of the coolest things that I like are these big tweaked out cheese rolls that Luke Siver does at Hokipa. Those are awesome. Luke is Levi's brother. Robbie, Jan is asking why Robbie uses the double backstrap. I sent him an email, Jan. He hasn't replied to me yet. I'll let you know when he does. Bart says that, how do the semi-pros travel? Are they making money from windsurfing, or do they have other jobs, or are they sponsored by their parents? And, you know, Bart, it's a combination of everything. Sure, there are some kids who are sponsored by their parents. There are a lot of people who work really hard in another job. A lot of people who work hard in their windsurfing job and are getting paid. Pro contracts have dropped dramatically in the last few years. They've been dropping over the last 25 years, 20 years, but especially in the last few years, kind of with COVID, contracts dropped again, sort of halved. So it's not a great time to make money as a pro windsurfer, but there are other things to do. So what a lot of pros work in the industry with brands doing their development or managing their photo shoots or doing other things that need to be done. Or they just have other jobs. Like Josip Pons is a personal trainer in Gran Canaria, and I think he even has his own gym. Justina, who is one of the top women windsurfers, works a full-time professional job in Australia. Caro Weber, who's like a semi-pro and does some events, she's a great windsurfer, she's a consultant. She's able to work remotely. So there's a lot of people who also are working now. 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, most of the top riders were not working and were able to support themselves with their sponsorship money. The other thing is, a lot of people live in the Canary Islands, and that really subsidizes the pro scene because it's just so cheap to live in the Canary Islands compared to anywhere else in the world, and still windsurf. All right, Bay, I'm going to check out the video that you sent. So here's the link. You can find it on Facebook. Hans is saying there's too much manual labor in windsurfing gear. Yeah. Yeah, Axel. Ponta Preta is right on the rocks. Yeah. But so Policao, Greg is saying Policao went through 5 masts in one day there at Ponta Preta. Definitely can happen. But that's if you're pushing it, right? Pull a cow's pushing it always. So, all right, Joseph with a question. Why does every brand in windsurfing decide that they're going to make their own version of everything? So he means like a lot of the brands, they have their own sail, they have their own mast, they have their own boom, they have their own extension, they have their own harness lines, they have their blah, 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 blah. There is one answer for this, and it's not a great answer, but it is the answer because I know, because I talk with a lot of different brands and brand managers. The idea is that windsurfing is not growing. There are not that many new people getting into windsurfing. And so for a brand, a big established brand, to make more money, to grow, they have to sell more things to the same number of people. And so then they'll make a boom, an extension, everything else. So for the same number of customers, they're able to get more money. That is the reason. That's the one reason. There are a few other things that happen because of that. It means that the shops need to have fewer suppliers. It means that the big brands have more leverage against the shops to push the shops to do what they want. But not all brands do that. Like for example, Ezzy, we don't do that, and we're not the only brand that doesn't do that. Like for example, a lot of people were pushing us to make a boom because they're like, oh, we could sell a boom, we could sell an Ezzy boom, but we couldn't come up with a boom design that was different enough to justify making it. You know, we're not interested in just putting our logo on some other boom just to sell an Ezzy boom. If we're going to make something, it needs to be different, and there needs to be a reason to make it, a reason for it to exist. And there are other brands as well that have similar philosophy to that. So it's not every brand that's trying to do it, but Joseph, that's the reason why they do it. Mark asked what to do when you're too old to windsurf anymore. How old is too old? I know a lot of people windsurfing into their 80s. I don't know. All right. Yao asked, why are there so many types of fin box systems? Yeah, complicated. But it's because the brands are trying to find the best fin box system for the kind of boards they want to make. So Tuttle, Mini Tuttle are very secure and locked in, but they don't offer any trimming options. US boxes are secure and trimmable, but they're kind of annoying with the tab and the screw and everything. Slot box, super easy, convenient, easy to trim as well. I love it. One screwdriver. I use slot box now, but they're also not as strong. And then there's some other boxes. Starboard has their own box and those other things. And so the brands are trying to come up with, solutions to what I just said. Something for trimming, something that's strong, something that's easy. All right, Artem says, how do you rig with bare hands? Yeah, I'm used to rigging with bare hands. I think it's mainly practice. Like I said, practice. I don't even sit down to downhaul anymore. I just wrap the rope around my hand, put my foot on the thing, stand on one leg and pull. But some things that help. It's really important to make sure that your pulleys are parallel. The line is parallel in the pulleys. I see a lot of really good windsurfers who are not threading their downhaul line correctly. They thread the downhaul line so it's a little bit twisted or a little bit torqued in one direction, and that's going to be a lot harder to pull than nice straight parallel lines. The memory device that I use, which is true for most pulleys, it's not true if you have parallel pulleys, but where you have a perpendicular pulley block on the extension that's perpendicular to the sail, it's inside, under, outside, over, through the middle, and to the cleat. So inside, under, outside, over, through the middle, and to the cleat. And that's it. So you're going inside pulley to inside pulley, both under, outside pulley to outside pulley, both over, and then you go under through the middle into the cleat. And that's how you make a nice parallel line. And then also having a good extension pulley is good. A lot of old extension, the pulleys get seized, and then of course they're harder to downhaul. Dana asks, will there be life after windsurfing? Is there windsurfing after life? I ask. Tim asks if he'll ever go home. Where's home, Tim? Alexander says, will there be windsurfing in 20 years? Yes, of course, but maybe not as popular as now. Does that matter? I don't think so. Marine, this is a good question. Do you ever lose motivation for windsurfing? Do you feel like you're regressing? Are you afraid of trying new things? Lots of questions in there. I've never lost my motivation for windsurfing completely. The closest I've ever come is during long stretches of training in Pozo in Gran Canaria. And probably if I wasn't trying to train for the World Cup there, I would be having more fun and I wouldn't be losing motivation. But that's, I think, the only time where I've felt like I'm losing motivation. But then it's not like I'm losing motivation for windsurfing in general. It's that specific kind of windsurfing. Have I ever felt like I'm regressing? Maybe on some things. Like often I'll look at old videos and think, oh my God, I was so good. But in general, I've been improving. Maybe my jumping has regressed a little bit because I just don't practice it as much, which leads into the third point about fear. The kind of only place I have more fear now, or fear that I feel like is holding me back, is with the jumping, especially in strong winds, radical jumps and strong winds. I still feel comfortable doing big back loops and stuff, but the jumping as I've gotten older definitely starts to feel scarier. I used to really throw myself in some crazy stuff, and I was doing like going for like double back loops and all these kind of crazy things. And yeah, I don't know if it's fear or just self-preservation that I don't want to do that anymore, but I'm just not that into doing that. Asel says that when will foilers miss the feeling of the board skimming over the water or the sliding sensation of a good flocka and spock? Good question. Maybe. Swiss Gliss says, why do pros never duck jibe when running slalom? I think that it's because with the long booms that they have on those sails, it's pretty hard to do a good duck jibe. Dennis says, why do we no longer see regular tabletops in high-level competition? You sometimes do, but then you'll often see one-handed tabletops. And then you can get extra tweaked, and it's a higher score. And if they're really tweaked, a really nice one-handed tabletop will have a good score. And you see like one a year, I think, on the PWA Tour. I know that Thomas Traversa has done some, and they score actually pretty well, but they have to be really tweaked in order to score well. I think Victor has done some, and yeah, I like seeing them. They're a beautiful move. John says, why are so many harnesses advertised as doesn't ride up when they all do? Yeah, I don't know. Good question. Rob is saying that he didn't sail Punta Preta, but he remember being amazed how much faster the waves were in Maui than in the UK. Just so much less time out in front of the wave. Yep, sounds about right. All right, Anton wants to windsurf in Los Angeles. Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't see this post. I go through every post in here. I read every post that's posted. This is the first time I'm seeing this post. I'm going to try and connect you with some people in LA. I do know a few people in LA who windsurf. It depends what you're looking for. So just north of LA, there's a lake, Lake Isabella, where there's a lot of windsurfing, free ride windsurfing. And then on the coast, there's also a lot of wave sailing. And then amazing, some of the best wave sailing in the world is also accessible from there. It's relatively far. It takes you whatever 12 hours to drive there, but you can fly there in a few hours. Baja in Mexico offers amazing wave sailing. All right, next up we have this Wave 360 from Ale. Is it possible to do Wave 360s on waves this small? It's pretty hard to do Wave 360s on waves this small. They don't have much pushback. It's not impossible, and it's not worth giving up. It's still good practice. So this is great practice how you're doing it, but I don't think it's hard when the waves are so small, unless the wind is really windy and onshore. All right, Roland working on the forward loops, working on extending the front arm. Let's see how this goes. Take off, extension. Yeah, that's better extension than what we were seeing before. Boom, pull it in. All right, next step is the head. Let's get that head looking back. Because as you can see, when the head is looking back, it's looking in the direction of the rotation, which is what you want. So get that head looking back. Try and see where you're going to land. If the idea of looking back doesn't make sense, think about looking where you're going to land, which then you're going to have to look over this other shoulder. Look back. All right, Ben is asking about the creases in his new sail. So this is an Ezzy sail. I can't speak for all sails, but in our sails, we are not designing them by how they look, but by how they feel. And if something looks weird, but it feels good, we'll still do it. And if it looks good, but it feels weird, we won't. These creases are all creases that can happen naturally with the sail. So none of these are anything to worry about. What you want to make sure, and I say it in here, is if you feel it's pulling on your backhand, you need more outhaul. If it's pulling above you and you feel like you're going to get catapulted, more downhaul. If you feel like your backhand has no pressure, less outhaul. If you feel slow to get going and the sail's opening too much, less downhaul. These sails can feel really good with little downhaul, but you might actually need a little bit more downhaul, kind of looking at this picture. But go off of the feel, not how it looks. All right. All right, we've got some fun comments going on here. Rich is calling it calculated risk. Greg says that fear originates from self-preservation. Yeah, interesting. Rich says calculated, as he's always calculating what he gets out of it versus the risk of serious injury or damage stuff. Oops, there I am. All right, guys, that is it for today. The trees are moving. Actually, it wasn't forecasted to be windy today. We've had super stormy weather and it's been rainy and terrible. But it was supposed to be forecasted, was forecasted to be more of that today, but it's blue skies and windy. So I think I'm going to get on the water. I hope you guys have a windy week. Ask your questions, post your comments, post your photos, post your videos, all of that in the Facebook group. If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, post it in the Facebook group. I will see you guys all next week, Sunday. Thank you for showing up. If you are in the Vulcan course, I will see you on Wednesday. Vulcan course, we've got our third workshop coming up on Wednesday. I'm enjoying this course. If you are in the think tank, which is where the Patreon moved, Tomas did an amazing job helping me to migrate all of our posts from Patreon onto the new platform, which means now it's time for me to do some new posts on there. And I've got a few lined up. So check those out. I think you guys get an email when I do a new post. Maybe you can adjust that in your settings. I don't know. I hate getting too many emails, so you can turn that off and just check it sometimes. All right. Take care. Have fun. Have a good week. I hope you get on the water. See you next week, Sunday. Bye.